MS Now's Ken Delaney, and following this for us, Sam Stein, managing editor of The Bulwark and an MS Now contributor, and Chris O'Leary is a former senior FBI official, senior VP for global operations at the Soufan Group, and now an MS Now national security and intelligence analyst. So, Ken, tell us more about Smith, who, like Obama, expressed serious concern about this erosion of independence at DOJ.
Yes, and it's worth remembering, Chris, that Jack Smith is a nonpartisan career prosecutor. He's been branded as a partisan by Donald Trump and his allies, but that's not really his background. And he's using some very strong language here, saying the Justice Department has been corrupted. But I have to tell you, Chris, that's no different from the conversations I have almost every day with current and former Justice Department and FBI officials. This is a universal view and really transcends partisanship. And the thing that's notable here is that you're hearing Jack Smith say it and you're hearing Barack Obama say it, but there are a lot of other people who you're not hearing from, including Merrick Garland, the former Attorney General, Chris Wray, the former FBI Director, Lisa Monaco, for example, the Deputy Attorney General, who I'm sure hold the same views about what's going on, but they are in private law practice or they are with private companies and they're not willing to stick their neck out and say what they think is happening. And there's a lot of lower level people that most people have never heard of who aren't saying anything either. It's hard for us to even get folks to go on the record and be quoted in stories that we write every day about crazy things that are happening at the DOJ. So that to me is what's notable about this. Jack Smith is out there because he's doing essentially public interest law. He's not at a big law firm and he doesn't have government contracts, but there are a lot of other people who think the same way, who are remaining silent right now as the Justice Department is being transformed in a way that we haven't seen in modern history, Chris.
And Chris, I want to play another brief clip from that video obtained by the New York Times.
We have a department that fails to investigate cases because they might uncover facts that are inconvenient for narratives the president would like to press.
Even though, as Ken just pointed out, there are a lot of people who, for their own reasons, are not speaking out publicly, are you hearing that kind of thing behind the scenes as you talk to people privately?
Yes. So I hear, from current and former agents in the FBI and former prosecutors from the Department of Justice, this exact thing that both Jack Smith and President Obama are highlighting. The issue is the acting attorney general right now is the personal lawyer of the president, and he's still conducting himself that way. He's not working for the people. He's not the people's lawyer. He's not working on behalf of the Republic. He's working on behalf of the president and their agenda. And then equally, we have Kash Patel, the completely unqualified director of the FBI, who's carrying out this campaign as well. So what's happening is we're going against, political adversaries or perceived political adversaries of the president and of, his network. And we're not going against the real criminals that are threatening our republic. And the issue is, at the end of the day, the country is less safe because we have unqualified sycophants running the Department of Justice and the FBI, and we're not actually being protected.
Sam, Republicans actually did spend years accusing the Biden DOJ of politicization, and now you've got Democrats arguing exactly the same thing about Trump's DOJ. But I wonder if you think that this resonates politically. Would it be useful, for example, for people running for office on the Democratic side to make the case that we just heard from Chris? We're less safe because of this.
Yeah, I think that certainly resonates politically. I do think that the larger political resonance is about matters of corruption, frankly, and that can be seen in the not just the prosecutions that the DOJ currently is pursuing under Trump, the vindictiveness of it, but also in the other side of the coin, which is the pardons and commutations that Trump has doled out while president the second time around. And this is also a component of the Justice Department. The pardon attorney at DOJ is a MAGA ally of Trump. And they've given real favors and leniency to people who are well-connected. It's created sort of this pardon industrial complex where you can just basically buy clemency from this administration. I think this all gets kind of wrapped together in this idea that if you're well-connected, close to President Trump, or a political ally, or if you're rich, frankly, you will have the benefits of the Justice Department at your disposal. If you are not, if you are a political adversary of President Trump, you will be given the law. And I think that is the politically resonant message for Democrats this cycle.
Case in point, Ken, Democratic State Senator Louise Lucas, who helped lead Virginia's redistricting referendum, suggests that she is being targeted by DOJ, saying that the Trump administration's raid of her offices just yesterday was an effort to intimidate her and silence her. What do we know and not know about this investigation?
If this is a case in point, Chris, that's the interesting thing here, and it underscores the problem with what's happening. This is an investigation that began in the Biden administration, and from what our reporting tells us, there is some legitimacy. This is a bribery corruption case, and there's some reason that the FBI is looking into this public official in Virginia. But the problem is, since all of this other stuff is happening, that these cases that are clearly retaliatory and thin are happening to other opponents of the administration. When something like this happens, nobody knows whether it's legitimate or not. We did have reporting that Lindsey Halligan, the former U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, who was a Donald Trump lawyer, was trying to push this case forward before it was ready a while back. And so we just don't know whether this is on the level or not. But we have to be cautious. Just because someone says they're being targeted by the Justice Department unfairly, criminal defense have said that for years, from both parties. The problem is that now we don't know whether it's true because of the actions of this Justice Department, Chris.
And Chris, the administration, of course, will argue investigations like this are legitimate. So, to Ken's point, how do you even distinguish between what's aggressive anti-corruption enforcement and weaponized prosecution?
You recenter the FBI and the Department of Justice back in the middle without any partisan influence and bring in professionals who are committed to the Constitution and the service of the citizens of this nation running those organizations. Listen, the men and women who still make up the overwhelming majority of the ranks of the FBI are doing the right thing every day. So it's tough that they're being misrepresented either as partisan against Democrats or partisan against Republicans. I will tell you, if this investigation did start during the Biden administration, it started with, credible facts. Was it pressured to accelerate in recent days or weeks or months? It's tough to say. But the corrective action is bring the FBI and DOJ back into a nonpartisan, arena and allow them to be trusted by the American people and do their job.
Meantime, Chris, I want to ask you about new reporting in The Atlantic that details an incident in which the FBI director, Kash Patel, bought at least one case of his personalized bourbon to the FBI's training facility in Quantico for a training seminar with UFC athletes in March. According to The Atlantic, at one point, at least one bottle went missing, which caused the director to, quote, lose his mind, according to clients of Kurt Suzdak, a retired agent who's assisted the FBI with legal issues. He told The Atlantic multiple agents contacted him for legal guidance after Patel began threatening to polygraph and prosecute his staff over the missing bottle. Is this the kind of environment that, to your knowledge, agents are at least reportedly dealing with?
This is the exact environment that agents are dealing with every day, every week. That incident I heard about from multiple contacts. I applaud The Atlantic for not backing down after, they were threatened with a lawsuit or they have been sued. And the FBI has denied all of their reporting. But all of the reporting that they've put out, I have heard from other people, as have other great journalists like Ken and Carol and others. So the problem is, this is the standard going on from Kash Patel right now. This is just one more data point of why he's unqualified to be the director of the FBI and why the country's less safe every day he remains in that position.
Sam, that Atlantic article was published by Sarah Fitzpatrick just hours after MS Now learned that she is under investigation by the FBI for a different story that she wrote last month about Patel. What message does it send, though, that she's still doing her job despite the pressure that clearly she must be feeling from the FBI?
Well, I love it. I applaud her. I'm grateful that The Atlantic has stood by her and continued to publish this work. It's proof that good journalism is important, is worth fighting for, is worth subscribing to. The administration obviously doesn't like the reporting. The fact that they are suing The Atlantic over it is ridiculous. The fact that they apparently have been investigating her, even though they've denied all the accusations. Why would you investigate the leaks to her if you say they're all factually made up and doesn't quite compute? So anyways, I just am very proud of The Atlantic for doing this. I will just note for the record that bourbon bottle over my shoulder is not from Kash Patel. That's my own. I didn't get bought off by the FBI director.
Does it have your label, your private label on it?
I don't see a label on it right now, and I'm not going to put a label on it, and I'm not going to drink it on air either. I just wanted to be clear. It's not from Kash Patel.
Well, we're also noting that Chris's shot is very tight. I don't know what's on the table behind.
There is a bourbon bottle there.
Look at that.
There's all kinds of bourbon bottles, but they were gifted from legitimate units and not from an illegitimate director of the FBI.